As long as everyone thinks I'm an irritation, there's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing.
The Star Wars galaxy is no stranger to characters changing from good to evil. The whole Anakin Skywalker saga is centered around one man's journey from light to dark to light again. These are often total switches from one end of the scale to the other though. Rarely do we see characters who operate in those grey areas in between, something Andor looks set to explore thoroughly.
You don't work with Tony Gilroy if you don't want to stay in the gray areas, you know? It's what his writing is about. It's when he's at his best, you know? Because this story is about people. There's no Jedis around, therefore it's just people surviving, you know? And in both sides, there is people, like you and me. People make choices, and sometimes you succeed with those choices, and sometimes you fail, and sometimes you realize you're in the wrong side, and life should give you the chance to react to that and change and transform, you know? You're not born good, and therefore you'll be good, and that's it, you know? You transit from one side to the other to become who we want to be.
Outside of Cassian Andor, Mon Mothma, and a couple of other familiar faces, we're introduced to a whole new set of characters in Andor who span the moral spectrum, such as Stellan Skarsgard's Luthen.
I love that you meet Mon Mothma with Stellan's character, Luthen. He is such a mysterious and interesting character within Andor. And you meet her with him. Yes, it's in his world, so it's quite, I think it will be quite interesting for fans to kind of reset or look at her in it through a different perspective, and to have to learn to what she has to fight for or what she has to work for through him. He is a really enigmatic character. I loved working with Stellan. We had so much fun filming those scenes.
Playing a Star Wars villain always seems like one of the most fun jobs on a Lucasfilm set. For Kyle Soller and Denise Goth, who play the Empire's Syril Karn and Dedra Meero respectively, it was no different. Unlike most great villains, they're convinced they are the heroes of their story.
I mean, that's human life, isn't it? Everybody's filled with light and shade, and a hero and a villain within themselves. I think the bravery of actually trying to present a new world, a new kind of Star Wars, where people make questionable decisions, where people are really complex and contradictory, and are trying to figure out a way to survive or circumvent their own station or find a place of belonging. And within that, you have to make sacrifices to yourself or to the greater good. And yeah, I certainly feel like I have an understanding of where Syril is and what makes him tick. You know, he's still threatened by questioning, is this the right path? Is this the right path? And then you make it quite clear it is the right path, don't you?
They're kind of rebels in the Empire.
Yeah.
I just worked that out. Yeah, she's quite focused on going to any lengths to get power, but also to get Cassian Andor. I like that she's unapologetic in the decisions that she makes. And it's important that we show that female characters can do that too. She's not asking permission. She's not giving you like a really sad backstory that makes it like, oh, but actually, poor Dedra. Like, she's quite human, but she is also incredibly vicious. And I think so often when you get a female villain, you have to soften it in some way. And I really love that we don't really do that. But you can see how a woman in her position would make the decisions that she makes to get to where she's going to, because she's in a world where she has to work 100 times harder than anyone else to get to where she's going. And so you just want to always be asking the audience to identify, and that then makes you kind of uncomfortable. If you're identifying with a character that's doing reprehensible things, you have to like see that part of yourself that's capable of doing those reprehensible things.
Star Wars has always taken place in a galaxy far, far away, but Andor looks set to be as grounded and fundamentally linked to the human experience as it's ever been. It's determined to be a reflection of us out there in space, so where better to look than in the mirror?
There's so much work happening today, you know, that I get inspired by. In my country, which is a very complicated country, there is so many people fighting for justice and freedom in a way that inspires me, and definitely I was thinking of that people when I was playing this role, you know. Another thing I was thinking a lot is about Cassian's background and what he was forced to do, you know, as a kid, you know. Clearly, without saying too much, I mean, he's been forced to move. He's migrating, always moving from one place to another. You know, he's a refugee that can't go back to where he belongs. That energy is out there. That energy connects with so much happening out of this room, you know, and out of set in the real world, the one you and I live in. When you talk about storytelling, those are the stories that matter, you know. Those are the stories that I connect with. The ones where you don't think it's gonna happen, and suddenly, boom, that transformation comes, you know. And Cassian is one of those, you know. When we meet him at the beginning, he's surviving. He's just like in a very cynical state of his life, where he's just very selfish and childish in many ways, you know. He's so not aware of what he's capable of. And the beauty of this story is that he's gonna find out that through the process of these 2 seasons, and we're gonna see an interesting transformation, the awakening of a revolutionary, you know, and what needs to happen for someone to be willing to sacrifice everything, you know, for a cause.
That transformation will begin when Andor premieres on Disney Plus on the 21st of September. For more from Andor, check out the latest trailer, and for everything else Star Wars, stick with IGN.